This is going to be a first look at the Hearthstone Green Mountain 60. This is everything I picked up from the wood stove store. Buying a wood stove is basically a scam. You have to find a distributor to buy it from. You cannot buy direct from the factory, much like buying a car or something like that. But I did deal with a pretty decent distributor local to me where I picked up this stove. They did have it in stock. Of course, everything is unavailable and prices are going up and up and up. Whatever. Here's the stove. Here's all of the chimney components. Only thing missing here is the hearth pad and the blower, which they forgot to give me when I picked everything up here. So let's take a closer look at unboxing the wood stove. By the way, up here we've got an insulated exterior chimney, interior telescoping chimney piece, interior fixed chimney piece, then all of the roof support stuff, and the flashing, which is not pictured here. Let's open up this package and take a look at the stove, and I'll talk about the reasons why I chose this one. Quality control checklist. Inspected on July 23rd, 2021. It's the user's manual. Okay, got the wood stove in. It is very heavy. Put it on these sliders here so that we could slide it in place. Currently just finishing up trimming out the chimney in the ceiling. We did not use a cathedral ceiling box because where the chimney comes through does not go center to the joists. So it does meet all the setbacks though. You need 2 inches around the entire pipe, which we have. Got some setbacks to push the insulation back and keep it away from the pipe. Wood stove is gonna go right center here. And underneath, we'll be using this beautiful Ember King black steel hearth pad. So let's continue working here. Okay, we have the sloped ceiling cover there around the stub through for the double wall insulated chimney. And we have the adapter on there to go to the double wall black. So let's put the first stub piece on. Then we can move the drop cloth out of the way, get the stove in place, and connect the expandable connector. Okay, we've got the fixed piece connected through the stovepipe adapter or chimney pipe adapter to the actual chimney. So here we have the double wall. Now it is time to set the floor protection and get the wood stove in place. Okay, the Ember King hearth pad is in place. I haven't seen any YouTube videos about these hearth pads, but it is very nice, minimalist. I do really like the finish, really nice finish. Hopefully it holds up to the use, putting logs on top of it, everything else. I didn't want to cut up these beautiful hardwood floors, so this was a nice low profile option. It only sticks up about 3/16. It's 3/16 inch steel. You can see I have a laser set up and we're right about center of the pipe there, so that'll help me keep everything in line. So I'm gonna screw this into the floor now. So I almost have the wood stove in place. I bought these little furniture sliders. They're big, they're like coasters to slide it across the hearth pad so I didn't scratch it up. I also put in the blower. The blower consisted of this piece of steel, this blower assembly, and enables you to get 5-inch setbacks from the body of the stove, which is basically this rim right here. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to get it that close. I'm gonna probably have about 8 inches of setback. Okay, we're getting there. I've centered the stove on the hearth pad. I've leveled it. Real pain in the butt to level. I believe this surface here is level though. At least it looks level. I'm assuming that this door is set up to swing closed even when the stove is level. Maybe that's a safety feature of some kind, I'm not really sure. But the stove is level, I've checked it a dozen times. Put the telescoping piece on here, so you can see it's not yet connected there. I just got it roughly where it needs to be. Screw it in here, then I will shift it up. Once I shift it up, I'll screw it in there and screw it in here. So it's coming out really good. It's looking really good. Step back here. Beautiful. All right, we'll keep going. All right, she's all installed. Time to build a fire. Okay, well, the wood I had wasn't the driest. So fortunately, I chose a couple different types of wood, and with the help of this torch, finally got it burning. I do have the minimum amount of chimney height. I have about 13.5 feet, because this is on the top floor. And then above that, there's 36 inches of chimney. So I just have the door cracked right now. I did get some smoke in here, so I have a fan going just to clear things out. The top of the stove is starting to get hot. It's definitely warm. Nothing on the catalyst just yet. So I just measured, I have 7.5 feet of black double wall, and then I have 6 feet of insulated stainless double wall to go through the ceiling and then above the roof. So that makes 13.5 feet. They say the minimum is 14 feet from the top of the adapter. So figure another 6 inches for the cap. I just have the bare minimum for chimney height. So I'm hoping that once the flue is warm and once the stove is warm, I'll have a good enough draft to burn firewood. So I'm following the instructions for a break-in fire. So now that this is warm and going, I don't want to let the stove get too hot. It says to just close the damper and let it die out. You can see we're still in the inactive zone on the catalyst. I might have let it get a little too hot because it is actually quite hot on top. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this and let the fire die out. And then I will let it cool down and I'll light it tomorrow. I just started fire number 2. So I did the break-in fire yesterday. Today's a new day. Just lit this fire. Wood is a little bit drier. I'm leaving the door cracked while the fire starts. Damper, or the air control, is all the way open. Damper is open. So let's see how this goes. Okay, despite having the door open, the fire did start to go out. So I popped the door all the way open. I got a little bit of smoke because I don't think the flue is hot enough yet, maybe, I'm not sure. And I put in a couple larger logs. So they seem to be catching pretty good. Let's close this over, see if it stays. I have the door back open because it definitely didn't like that. So let's let it keep burning. Hopefully I could close this door soon. Okay, after a couple hours of playing around with this, I was finally able to get the door closed. I have a beautiful fire going. I've almost reached catalyst level. So we're gonna keep this going. Probably throw in another log and let that catch, then I'll engage the catalyst. Have an absolutely beautiful fire going here. I checked all the wood with this moisture meter and everything read 10%. And it's definitely burning pretty nice. Should be able to engage the catalyst momentarily. All right, we have a little bit of smoke coming off the top of the wood stove. We've been at the low end of our catalyst range for a while, so let's engage the catalyst. Catalyst is engaged. Got a beautiful fire going. Some smoke coming off the top. That should dissipate. Man, what a nice fire. Have the window open to just let it air out a little bit. I'm gonna run it on high for a while longer, then I'm gonna turn it down. I must say this stove is burning really beautifully. From all of the fumes, I guess, from the stove burning in, just set the smoke detectors off. So I've got some windows open, kind of letting it air out a little bit. But you can see we have an absolutely beautiful fire going. The catalyst is in the active stage and it is engaged. Levers all the way that way. So I'm going to turn this fire down a little bit. That's all the way in. it's all the way out, go about halfway. Let's also have a look at this fan assembly. This is to turn it off, on, that's on high, and I'm guessing it kind of blows heat across the top. I don't know, seems okay. Let's turn it lower. It's got a little thermostat in there as well. Turns off when the stove isn't hot enough. I just bypassed the catalyst, opened up the stove, and put another load of logs on. Had the fire going for about 4 hours now. I also opened the air control to let the logs catch and start burning a little bit hotter. We've been hovering right in this range of the catalyst active thermometer, and it's been putting off some really good heat. I've been keeping it at a solid 80 degrees, even with the window open, blowing some of that smoke out the window from this stove being fired for the first time. Now I'm going to engage the catalyst again and turn the air control down a little bit. Beautiful. All right, day 2, got a fire going again. It's a little bit hard to get going, but once the wood stove was heated up and the chimney was nice and warm, I was able to engage the catalyst. In the manual, it says you shouldn't see any smoke coming out of the chimney when the catalyst is engaged, and that's definitely true. You just see some heat coming off there, which is pretty nice. Top of the chimney, it's warm, but I can leave my hand on it. This is the first section of the chimney, and this one is much, much warmer. Can't leave my hand on there for too long. Outside of the flashing is warm, and this collar is just warm. So we'll see if I have to add another piece. I'm gonna kind of play with it and see, but I may need to add another 3-foot section to improve the draft. This is day 3 with the Hearthstone Green Mountain 60. Getting a little bit better at starting it. It's really important to have dry wood, I think, with this minimum chimney height that I'm working with. Once you get it going, it's really tough to get it to keep going unless the front door is cracked. Once it gets into the catalytic range or just below it, I'm able to close the door, let it heat up more, and engage the catalyst. Once that's going, as long as I keep it in the catalytic range, it stays going, and it seems to work pretty good. It throws off a lot of heat. My complaints so far are the fan, which you could hear it going now. The fan it's not a constant sound. I mean, you could hear it. It sounds like a hair dryer. It's not really a pleasant sound compared to something like the squirrel cage fan in that split unit there. That's a squirrel cage fan in the back there too, and it just isn't a constant noise, and it is moving some air around. It definitely gets very hot. I have the air almost completely shut, and you can see how it's going there. Shut there, so you can see. So the air is completely shut there. You could see it slowing down. So I just have been keeping it just cracked a little bit, just barely open, and it seems to be pretty good so far. So this is day 3. All right, so this has been going for probably 5 or 6 hours. I've got it almost on the lowest setting, and this is ash. It was cut down about 1.5 years ago and split a few months ago. Once it's going, that catalyst is engaged, you could turn this thing way down. I mean, logs do last a while in here. So I have that air control closed in as much as possible, and it's cooking. Managed to keep the heat down pretty low. You can see it's just out the slightest little bit. I mean, just a hair out. So I'm getting pretty good at starting this fire. I've been able to start it 2 times, 3 times with just some cardboard. It's really important to have dry kindling. this has been going for the last 2 hours or so. I have the air vent almost completely closed. The catalyst is engaged. You can see the heat there. That's even a little warm. I'm gonna turn the fan on. So with the fan off, I'm actually able to get water pretty much boiling on here. So that's pretty cool. So you can cook on top of this stove if you get it hot enough. So here's a nice fire going right now. See, we're about midway on the temperature gauge. You could see that secondary air burn there. Really beautiful, really beautiful. This thing is throwing off some serious heat right now. There's that secondary burn. Air control is almost completely closed. Beautiful. What? What? Okay, I've been living with this stove for about, I would say a month now, month and a half. Major issues I had in the beginning were that the ash wood I was burning was just, I don't know what was wrong with it, but it was very hard to start a fire with. Switched over to this maple, which was split about 4 months ago. It was cut down about 1.5 years ago. It's definitely pretty dry. Splitting that up into little pieces of kindling makes it really easy to start a fire. I just threw in some newspaper, a couple pieces of cardboard, a couple pieces of maple kindling. Ended up with this about 10 minutes later. Very important, you have to leave that door cracked. Keep that door cracked to start the fire. I like to also lay a piece of wood perpendicular across the firebox. You can kind of see a piece right there to allow air to get underneath. It's really important to keep good airflow in this stove, or it just won't light up. Different woods, I'll have to use different air amounts. So with the maple, I gotta close this all the way down. And with the ash, I'll have to run that maybe half open. Once it gets hot and once the catalyst is engaged, it works really, really beautifully. And I'm just getting much, much better at starting fires. As soon as that catalyst is engaged, this black double wall will end up being not cool, obviously, it'll be hot, but you could leave your hand on it. Stove is super, super efficient. So far so good. Even with the minimum chimney height of 14 feet, it's working really, really great. And it's really wonderful to be able to use this stove. I find that to get the front door to be able to close, all I have to do is make sure the flames are consistently going up above the damper, and then I can close the front door and let it build its temperature until I can engage the catalyst. So that's the Hearthstone Green Mountain 60. Really nice wood stove. So far, so good. We're almost in catalyst range there. We've also already gained 4 degrees since starting this. It was 63 when we started, and we're up to 67 already. Took about maybe 20 minutes, I would say. Beautiful.